What's up guys, Kyle here again, and today we're gonna take a look at the infamous Panama Inferno. Let's do it! Alright, hope you guys are doing great out there today. As I said, we are checking out the Panama Inferno. Now, I mentioned in the beginning of the video that this amplifier is infamous. The reason that I say that is this brand was a brand that gained popularity by sending a lot of amps out to YouTubers back when being a YouTuber, being an influencer was kind of like a brand new thing. And Panama, as a brand, understood that getting their product out into the hands of these people to advertise for you was a great way to spread awareness of the brand and of the product. So you saw these things popping up all over the place and getting good reviews from the people who were using them. Now, in my experience, this is not a bad sounding amp by any means, but the reason that they are infamous is their quality control was terrible, and a lot of people were buying these amps expecting that they were gonna get like a boutique amplifier that was high quality, and in return what they got was basically a poorly built amp that was a clone of another amp that had all sorts of reliability issues. Some of them were even dead on arrival. So on top of that, their customer service was notoriously horrible. Like, there really was nobody manning the phones essentially to help people out that were getting these bad amps. So people were getting bad amps and they were kind of getting shafted by the company. They were having a really hard time getting a hold of anybody, and instead of being able to troubleshoot problems, Panama would just send a new amp out and have the other amp sent back. Those are all the stories that I've heard from people who own these things, who bought them direct from Panama. So this company is no longer in business, and honestly, finding one of these amps, I think this is the first one that I ever really had the chance to buy, because you don't see them very often. I'm guessing not a whole lot of them got shipped out into the world. So as soon as I saw it, I'm like, all right, I gotta jump on this thing. I wanna see what it's about, just curiosity's sake. Back when I was looking at YouTube channels a lot, before I had the ability to play a lot of these amps, this was something I gassed over because it sounded really good in the videos. Now, come to find out, this amp, according to everything that I have read, this amp is sort of a clone of a Engel Savage 120, which is an amp that I actually own. There are some similarities for sure, but this one seems to be a little lacking in a couple of areas, and I'll tell you guys exactly where I think that is. But overall, it's a 4-channel beast. There's a huge foot switch that's supposed to come with this thing, but unfortunately, mine did not. So we're just gonna manually flip through the channels and dial some tones in and see what we can come up with. Real quick, before we do that, if this is your first time here at my channel, what I do is I take awesome or infamous high gain amplifiers, overdrive pedals, guitar cabs, all sorts of stuff. I record it with a simple SM57 setup. I give you guys the unprocessed audio. So if you like Eastander thrash riffs and guys who prefer dill relish on their hot dogs, you're in the right place. All right, so let's take this thing over to channel 2, if I can even figure out how the hell to get there. There's a lot of switches on this amp. Channel 1 is a clean channel. Channel 2 is technically the first. Channel 1 is a clean channel. Channel 2 is technically the first gain channel on this amp. And I can tell you, all 3 gain channels can get into the high gain realm, and they have usable high gain tones. So that is a bonus for the amp. We're gonna turn the gain down to 9. We're gonna turn the bass, mid, treble to noon. Presence is at noon. We're gonna turn the depth charge off. It's basically like a deep switch. All right, so it's a little bit fat, a little bit crunchy. Let's turn that gain up to noon. right. Let's turn that presence up. So it's okay. You know, it's not a crunch channel. I would think I would want something a little bit more classic voice. It's kind of crunchy and fat in the lows, but it's not really classically voiced, I would say. Still has a modern sound and feel to it. It's pretty fat. Let's hit that depth charge switch. Turn it off. I gotta say, I'm honestly not noticing much. If anything, maybe that button doesn't work on this channel. It's definitely adding some fatness. Okay, let's dial the gain up to 3 o'clock. Pretty sloppy. It definitely gets kind of messy when you have the gain dialed up. Let's hit it with an overdrive out front and see how that sounds. All right, so it still kind of has like a sort of vintage feel to it, I guess. It's a little loose, a little fat in the low end, and it's kind of stringy in the top end. If you turn the gain up that high, it gets really messy sounding. It's not a focused gain at all. All right, guys, so that is crunch 1. Let's head on over to crunch 2, see what type of tones we can get out of that. We are gonna start again with everything at noon, that presence back at noon, depth charge off. All right, so let's hear how this channel sounds. This is crunch 2. Honestly, it's a little muffled. That's not bad. It still does have a little bit of muffled top end. For my taste though, let's dial that gain up to noon. All right, so still not super saturated. Let's turn it up to 3 o'clock. Overall, so far, not loving the voicing in this channel either. It's a little bit just bland. It's not terrible. There's just nothing setting it apart. It's a little stringy in the top end. The low end is kind of not all that focused, not punchy. There's just not a lot of really great frequencies going on in there. I don't know. It's just not hitting my ear quite right. Let's turn the treble, the mids down, the bass up. Let's hit it with an overdrive. Pull that crunch gain back a little bit. It's a little better. Let's hit the depth charge. Better, but it still just has this kind of muffled quality to it. I don't know. better, but again, there's just, I don't know, there's just something not sitting right with my ear. It's like harsh and muffled at the same time. I'm not able to get the top end where I want it. It's like the presence knob operates in a frequency that is not high enough to get that sizzle that I like. Yeah, there's a blanket over the speakers type thing going on. Even though the amp does sound a little bit harsh in the room in the upper mid and high frequencies, it's still like there's a blanket over that very top end that just still makes it seem a little bit muffled. Let's go over to channel 4 and see what type of tones we can get out of channel 4. Channel 4 was definitely the one that I was gravitating towards the most when I first got the amp and plugged it in. So let's hope that we can find some redemption for this thing in channel 4. Let's hear how this sounds. Everything at noon. The gain is dialed down around 8 o'clock. Depth charge is off. Boost is off. Let's bump that gain up. Okay, so there's that. Still muffled. Let's get some presence on it. All right, so it's very, very MIDI, actually. Let's dial the mids back, the bass up a little bit, and the treble up. Still super muffled. Yeah, let's try more treble, I guess. I don't know. It's just I can't get that muffled type sound to go away. That's about the best I've been able to get it so far. Let's kick the depth charge on. All right, so that's not bad. It's not amazing, but it's not bad. Let's kick in the duality. Let's turn the gain down just a bit. All right, guys, that's about the best I've been able to get it to sound so far. Let's turn the treble up just a bit. All right, so yeah, again, there's just not a whole lot going on that I like there. The lows are not all that big, and when you dial them up, they tend to sound unfocused. Kind of same with the gain. Like if you really want to push the saturation, it tends to make it just sound kind of sloppy. whereas other amps you can kind of push the gain up and it'll retain its tightness. Yeah, it's a little bit, I think this channel is definitely the best as far as the gain channels go for my tastes on this amp, but again, it's kind of lacking a little bit in the balls department, and it's also kind of got the same issue that I had with the Randall Diavolo RD45, and the Egnator Vengeance was another amp that I had where overall the tone wasn't bad, but it was just lacking like some top end sizzle that really made the amp sound alive. It's just not there for me, so it's not a bad sounding amp by any means. I'm sure if I heard a band play this dialed in right, I wouldn't even think twice about, you know, the tone. Like, it would probably sound great. But for me personally, there's some things lacking there. Channel 4 is really MIDI, and when you scoop it out, it definitely helps, but then it kind of takes away some of the presence of the amp, which is already kind of lacking a little bit. You try to dial up the highs a lot, and it just kind of makes things harsh, but still muffled. It's a really weird combination, but I'm gonna grab a drop C guitar real quick, and we're gonna try that out and see how that sounds, and we'll call it a day on this amp. Okay guys, so I've got my Schecter E1 Apocalypse here with the Apocalypse pickups. They're very modern, very mid-forward sounding pickups, so let's see how this sounds in drop C on this amp. All right, so it still just kind of seems to lack like a low-end punch. It seems really noisy, which it seemed noisy before, but yeah, I'm not getting anything I really like out of this, guys. It's kind of a bummer. Okay guys, that's gonna do it for me today on the Panama Inferno. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Did it sound better through the mic on your guys' end than it sounded to me in the room? Because in the room, I am pretty unimpressed, honestly. Does not sound very good. Seems to be lacking in punch, seems to be lacking in clarity, lacks in top end fizzle. The tones are not terrible. Again, if I heard a band using this, I probably wouldn't notice a lot of the things that I notice when I'm just sitting beside it playing it. But most of us guitarists, that's what we're gonna be doing most of the time. We're gonna be sitting beside our amp, playing it or standing out in front of it. This one left me particularly really uninspired. Yeah, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I will meet you guys down there to chat about it. If you guys like the video, hit the like button, consider subscribing so you don't miss the next one. Really appreciate you guys stopping by to check it out. Kyle here again. We'll see you next time.